What's up, you guys, and welcome to our open spoilers review of The Flash. No, not Grant Gustin's Flash. No, Ezra Miller's The Flash movie. This movie, we've been waiting for this movie for about 10 plus years now. It's finally
Facts.
out in theaters. And I couldn't do the spoilers review by myself. We had so much fun doing it last time, so I brought the same crew back. I got Ian Elliott Carter back from Ian Elliott Carter's YouTube channel and Critical Reviews from Critical Blue Reviews. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, doing great. How about yourself?
Good, good. What about you, Ian?
Well, I'm doing fantastic, man. I've been waiting to talk spoilers with this movie because I know it's getting some mixed reviews, but I'm ready to defend it like crazy. But I'm also willing to accept there are flaws, so I will definitely talk about the flaws.
we're gonna dive into that in this review. We're gonna talk about what we liked about the movie, what we didn't like about the movie, flaws, and then we're gonna address some of the things that have come up in the media. Like, is this the best DCEU movie? Is this the best comic book movie? Some are saying that this is the best movie, better than the recent Across the Spider Verse. We're gonna
Yeah,
dive all into that. Um, but first, before we dive in all into that, this is your first time ever watching us live, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Then hit that bell right next to it. That way you get all the notifications every time I'm releasing a video here on my YouTube channel. All right, you guys. I'm gonna give you my initial thoughts. So I was not excited to see this movie. Now, people told me, the people I know who work at Warner Brothers, who've seen the movie like 6 months ago, they said it was an amazing movie. It was a great movie. And I'm like, okay, I'm interested. And then I'm not gonna lie, some of the stuff that Ezra Miller did, I didn't want it to cloud my judgment while I'm watching this movie. But I have to say, watching this movie as it sits, I think it's a pretty decent movie for what it is. I have to, and the elephant in the room, Ezra Miller is a great Flash. He is a really good Barry Allen. I like how they went the kind of nerdy, quirky route. This was a funny movie, so especially when he goes back in time and he sees his other version of himself, and he loses his powers at one point, and his other version gets his powers, and it's a comedic action film. The one thing I will say, this was a definitely good song for Ben Affleck's Batman because he was more like the mentor, the leader in this film. I loved all of his scenes. I wish we could have gotten more of that. And if you watch this movie, they have many Justice League moments in this movie. Spoiler alert, obviously Wonder Woman's in the movie for about 2 minutes, if that. And then, once Barry goes back in time, he essentially resets the universe, and you have Michael Keaton's Batman and a Supergirl Batman filled with different cameos of
Supergirl
different versions of
Batman.
Superman, and then that last cameo of Batman at the end, which I thought was pretty funny. George Clooney's Batman, the worst Batman ever. Wow, one of the worst Batmans ever. But I have to say, overall, I think it was a fun movie. I will say this though, in terms of special effects, this movie did not do it for me for special effects. Like when you see Barry running, you can obviously see it's a computer generated, being running, and it's not. I feel like Andy Muschietti, who directed this film, and the people who are working on this film, I didn't feel like it was finished. And the reason why I say that, when you watch the Flash special effects on the TV show, now this, I'm not trying to compare the two, but when you watch the TV show, they're made in a way where you can actually see Barry running. In this movie, you see him running only up to a certain extent, and it's kind of like a video game to an extent. Some of the Michael Keaton stuff, the action in this movie was pretty dope, but you could tell if you're watching closely, when Michael Keaton's actually in the suit and not in the suit. Like,
No,
it's just
Michael Keaton
it's
wasn't
just
doing the fighting for real.
no. His
His
old
old ass
ass
wasn't doing that.
his old ass was not doing any of that at all.
Like,
But I will say, I'll say this: the special effects is not what really took me out of the movie all the time. What took me out of the movie is that there are certain plot holes that happen in the movie that I didn't personally understand, and so So I'm just, and even at the end of the movie, I'm trying to figure out, okay, did Barry go back to his natural timeline, or did he fuck everything up and now is everything out of whack? Because I don't get it. Like this, Ben Affleck is gone. Like he didn't come back. We got George Clooney, and that post credit scene where we see Aquaman. Aquaman is still Aquaman, but in the timeline he messed up. I will say this raises a lot of questions about the multiverse that they don't really explain too well. But overall, like I said, I had fun. The special effects didn't really do it for me as much. I love all the Batman and Supergirl moments. But even with their special effects, some of those things didn't really do it for me either. But Ian, you seem to really like the movie. I saw your review when you released it. What did you think about the Flash, and what are your pros and cons of the movie?
All right, I'm gonna fire off like a chopper because I'm really I want to hear what Critical got to say about this. So I'll try to get to make this brief. So I gotta echo a lot of what you said. I definitely agree. Quick question for both of you: what is the number one thing that makes a good movie?
Story.
Is that what you
Story.
say, Critical, as well? Story?
Yeah, story. Mhm.
Okay. So yes, to me, the number one thing that makes a movie good is story. And I feel
Mhm.
like this right there did a great job with the story. It touched my heart. It had everything. It had drama, it had comedy, it had action. So everything that I look for in a good movie, it had it because of the story. With that being said, yes, there was problems with other things that are, go after the story. Of course, cameos, they are like icing on the cake. That's cool. We got some dope cameos. I did have a problem a little bit with the, like you said, the CGI, especially with the cameos when all the universes are coming together. Some of that was dope, but also a little bit tasteless. We can talk about that later. But the main thing that I did have a problem with was the CGI. Now, I did see the movie early, and I gave him the benefit of the doubt. If you saw my review, that they're not done. I saw this like a while ago, like a month and maybe almost 2 months before it came out. So I was like, this is obviously unfinished. Then I actually saw it again. I was like, it looks exactly the same. Oh, now I can't defend that anymore. Like this is bad CGI. So this is my take on the good story and the bad CGI. I feel like this is the opposite effect of what Batman vs Superman was. Batman vs Superman had amazing effects. Very good visual effects, just like it was visually awesome, but the story was ass. So it's like they flipped it a little bit. Like I can't respect Batman vs Superman more because of how shitty the story was. Now I know there's people that love that movie. That's cool. But to me, the visuals were great. Story was ridiculous. To me, what makes a movie, the heart and the soul, is definitely the script, and I think they passed that for me. To me, making it one of the better DCEU movies. I think. I'm trying to think which one I like better. I do like the Suicide Squad a lot, but I think in terms of story, I love this movie because I never even liked Ezra Miller as the Flash. I'm a big fan of Grant Gustin on the CW, but everything he's done as the Flash, Ezra Miller, I thought it was stupid. He still runs like ass. I'm not even going to defend that. He's, I was never a fan of how he ran. I never thought he was funny. I always thought he was cringe. I was like, I would like want to move away from him because I hated him. The director and the writing on this movie made me love Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller did a great job doing two parts. Some of the best parts of the movie was just him talking to himself, in my opinion. So I loved that you made me like someone I didn't like. And I think, taking away all the drama from the real world, taking away the art from the artist, I thought, he nailed that shit. And I think, it's a shame that this is probably the last time you're going to see him just because of all his antics in real life, because now I was looking forward to seeing more of him. I was like, yo, I want to see a sequel to that. I want to see him versus the Reverse Flash, all that stuff, because he did such a great job. So bravo to him on that, and I hope he gets better in his personal life, because, he was going rock bottom, but that happens. But other than that, that was me saying, look, it gets an A+ for story, definitely gets a C or even a D for their visual effects. Cameo, I would probably give it a C, maybe a B on that, because I did love Michael Keaton in this. I did love Zod coming back. I love Supergirl. I thought she was dope. I like seeing, the past movies like, Christopher Reeve and like Adam West Batman. But at the same time, it's that terrible like CGI / AI that was like kind of soulless. And I was just like, you guys, had so much time. As Alex said, 10 years in the making. You could have perfected this. Like I don't think there's any excuse of why the CGI is bad. I know the director said it was supposed to be like that. I'm calling cap. My last thing to say before I move to criticals thing is the cameos. I want to explain to you, Alex, why I think it kind of makes sense. The original movie, when I saw it, it was unfinished. All it said, all Barry did was say, "Who the fuck is that?" and went to black. I thought that was a perfect ending for like James Gunn announcing a future Batman. I was like, that is great. And then when we see the theater release, it's George Clooney, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, that's a very funny conclusion to, wow, this universe is over, obviously, because James Gunn is rebooting it. So let's just end it with a funny gag. So I was like, okay, I'm kind of conflicted. I kind of prefer the original to give you a little bit more suspense, but I understand, like, okay, this was a movie with a bunch of cameos and a mod to all the dope Batman, and let's just leave it with something funny. So I think I understood it from that point of view of like, hey, we are ending this universe. Let's just do something funny, and we're probably never going to see Ezra Miller again as the Flash. So I think and to explain the Universal thing real quick too. They said in the movie, if you change something in the past, think the timelines get tangled and things get changed up even from the past. He changed something small, so obviously it wasn't that big, but there was still some consequences to the small change, and I think that was the point they were making, was even though it wasn't like, oh, the whole universe has changed, there's still a little bit of changes. Ben Affleck is now George Clooney, and that's my whole thing. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Before I pass it to Critica, I would have to say I agree. I understand that George Clooney's version of Batman was more so a gag. So which was funny because again, if you look at the original Batman movies, some would even say that Michael Keaton's Batman's the Batman continued when he stopped playing Batman, when they say George Clooney's Batman was the last Batman and a part of that whole collection of movies.
That whole Burton universe.
Yeah, that whole. So I would say that that would be funny because like George Clooney's Batman was terrible. But I would also say though, the reason why I kind of had a issue with the scene of the worlds colliding and stuff like that, they did that in Crisis on Infinite Earth on TV.
Yeah.
So they basically took something from TV and they put it in movie form. I'm cool with it, but the
no reason Grant Gustin couldn't have been in that scene, by the way.
Exactly, but the very same scenes that they show, like the Adam West and all these other different universes, they showed those same things on TV. The only difference is they added like the Titans and Doom Patrol and all this other stuff. So I would say it wasn't as original, but I would agree when Andy Muschietti said, "Oh, it's the effects are not ready yet." I'm like, "Come on, bro, really? You had 10 years."
Yeah.
So, but
you had 10 years.
Oh,
one more thing to add. The only reason that Aquaman is still there is because he has a movie coming out, so they couldn't get rid of him yet. So.
Yeah, I think he's the last one on that slate before we get James Gunn's universe. Right. But Critica, what did you think about the movie? Pros and cons, man.
Okay, I would want to piggyback off of what you said earlier about the universe colliding, because I think in the CW universe, they kind of was stating that the DC universe was like different worlds and stuff like that. So I think it's still a connection to the CW universe, even though the CW universe is over and Superman and Lois, I think, is the only one that's running right now, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But as for the Flash, man, I thought it was pretty cool. Definitely starting off when I think Batman vs Superman, when we got a glimpse of him in the files, the way his energy just took over the whole store, I was interested. When we got the Justice League, I was uninterested. I did not like Ezra Miller playing that character at all. I mean, especially after Grant. Grant did such a great job of Barry Allen trying to figure out who he is, you know what I mean? And we get to like stay with him a lot longer because it's an episodic, show. This time it's like a one-off thing. And then him, just having like high anxiety and things of that nature, it was so off-putting that it kind of bothered me. I was just like, I don't know about this one. I'm used to Grant, like used to the Grant version where he's confident, you know what I mean? And him trying to learn, even when he's not confident, people see the potential in him to be like, you know what, you can do it, Barry, or run, Barry, you know what I mean? So when I just saw him, and he has like the Grant Gustin has a team. Ezra doesn't really have a team other than the Justice League. Like, we don't know who raised him, you know what I mean? Because both of his parents were gone. So like we don't know any of that information. But I will say this, going into this movie, I felt like they really unpacked his story. You know what I mean? Like, we got a chance to meet his family. We got a chance to quote unquote meet his love interest. You know what I mean? And definitely what pulled me in was the family. Meeting his mother. You know what I mean? The father was cool, but the mother, that's what really got me. Him at the end, saying his final goodbye. That was really dope. That was hard. You know what I mean? It was hard to really like not real be tears. Emotional in that scene. You know what I mean? So yeah, and definitely like the story was on point. I like the comedic scenes were cool. I did like the comedic scenes. The fight scenes were okay. I was hoping that they would use a lot from Injustice and just expand on the Injustice Flash moves to make it look cooler for the movie. Unless I missed it, but I didn't really get like the Injustice fighting style, you know what I mean, in this film. Definitely the nostalgic scenes like the Michael Keaton, like I was a Batman fan. I went to the movies to see Michael Keaton's Batman. I feel that Michael Keaton is the best Bruce Wayne, so yeah, man. And I was a big fan of Supergirl. Like I always, I did my podcast too, and I'm editing it now, but I never knew. I was like, I really do like Supergirl, because when Supergirl first came out in the 80s, I liked Supergirl, even though it had no story. It was a crazy off the mark story, but I liked it better than the first Superman with Christopher Reeves. And because of the whole voodoo thing, and like it was just different and weird and somewhat scary. And I was just really a big fan. Even when I play Injustice, I get Supergirl. So just to see her on there, and plus, like one thing I noticed about Kryptonians, they all have dark hair. They gave her dark hair to kind of fit, the Kryptonian race. I thought that was pretty cool. You know what I mean? So I think the young lady, what's her name, Sasha, I think she did a great job. I mean, she was emo,
first movie.
You know what I mean? But I think she did really good. The end credit scenes, I wanted to hit on. Somebody told me something and it made sense, but then it didn't make sense. The whole thing with Aquaman at the end, they were saying that they had the Aquaman, because I think Aquaman was supposed to be in every universe or something like that. And so like when they go to the James Gunn story, all right, they'll have an Aquaman there, or he's playing Aquaman. But I was thinking like it made sense if you're going to keep Ezra Miller as the Flash. You know what I mean? Like if we're going to the next universe and you're going to not build around, but we know that Flash and also Aquaman is going to be in the new James Gunn movie, and these are the actors that's playing them. But with Ezra Miller's background, I don't think he's going to be in the next one. So that threw that comment off to me, or that that prediction off to me, that they're going to use these two characters in the new James Gunn universe. So, but I gave it probably about like a 7.5. Out for this one, I give it 7.5 old lady sweatshirts, you know what I'm saying, or sweaters, you know what I mean? But like you said, Ian, I didn't like the CGI. I thought that was terrible at times, especially the part where he was being electrocuted and his head didn't look centered on his body. It looked really strange. Also, too, not having the reverse Flash in this film was very disappointing to me. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, that was the main reason all this happened. Yeah,
that was actually one of the plot holes I was mentioning, because the reverse Flash is the reason why his mom died,
right?
And the fact that Barry does not address that in this movie is actually kind of asinine. Like for instance, Barry in this movie is more so focused on the other Barry, and essentially, and then also recognizing the fact that he's fucked up by messing up the timeline. And I get it. They were trying to tell a very original story, but it's kind of hard for me. It's kind of hard as a Flash fan to watch this movie without even without even them mentioning his major nemesis. I thought that
Yeah.
would have been a
Right.
great post-credit scene, if not put him in the movie. You know,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I wanted to answer what you just said, which leads into my next round of questions for you guys. You know, in the post-credit scene, Ezra Miller stated that there's an Aquaman in every single universe, and he's essentially all the same. Now we know that we know that James Gunn is rebooting. He has his new slate of films. Jason Momoa said that he is coming back for the well. He made an Instagram post saying that he had a meeting with James and David, and he was very excited for the future of his character. People have said that he's gonna leave Aquaman and be Lobo, which I don't think that's true at all. I mean, it would be dope, but I don't think that's true at all. My question is for you guys. Um, this movie did not do well in on the box office, at least this weekend. So I don't really foresee it making its money back. But my question is, with all the negative press that surrounded Ezra Miller, do you think that is the reason why this movie turned off a lot of people? I'll start.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna start with you, Ian. What did you think?
Okay. Yeah, I think there's a lot of variables of why it didn't do as well. Number one, yeah, I think the Ezra Miller controversy. There are people that can't take away the art from the artist, and I mean, I can't call them out or disagree with them because that's their choice. You know, the things Ezra did was pretty shitty. So I mean, I can do that, but I can understand why other people can't. Two, superhero fatigue, man. Even on both sides, Marvel and DC, like. Marvel is not doing the best. I did love, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but as a track record in the last 2 years, Marvel and DC, just comic book movies in general, have been kind of on a decline. So people are like, you know what? Do I want to waste my money to get my heart broken again, or should I just wait till it gets on streaming services? So that I think has a little bit of effect on that. And number three. The universe is being reset anyway. So what is the point of rushing to something that's not going to lead to anything? So I can understand that point of view as well. And of course, what I said about the Flash, I feel like he was probably one of the most disliked Justice League members just because of how much he was written as a buffoon. But I do, if anyone's watching that has not seen the movie, I do suggest watch it. It's great. The writing's good, and and I think that they made Ezra Miller likable. So that's my opinion of why it's failed. There's a lot of variables to why it's just a perfect storm of, and it sucks too because it's one of the better DC movies.
Yeah. And Critica, what do you think? Do you think because of the Ezra Miller controversy or other factors involved, do you think that's the reason why this movie wasn't well received amongst the people who went to go see it or people who chose not to go see it?
Yeah, I definitely agree that Ezra Miller's antics played a big thing in why no one wants to go see this film, or people didn't come out in droves to see this film. And plus, it's a DC movie. Like we already just came off of Black Adam, right? It didn't really do what it was supposed to do. And then, of course, there was a lot of back and forth between The Rock and the new Warner Brothers or
Shazam.
So yeah, Shazam as well. So, and I don't think Shazam did well.
No, I didn't.
So DC, I think DC's stock market is going down, unfortunately, and Ezra Miller did not help because I think they said that the Flash didn't make as much money as Eternals. It didn't make as much money as Black Adam. So I think it's a combination, unfortunately, and hopefully James Gunn can rejuvenate the DC universe, and we'll see when James Gunn does this first film. I think we'll know if DC is done or not.
Yeah, and that was gonna be my next round of questions for you guys. So we know that at least I believe Ezra Miller is not coming back. I don't think that no one has definitively said that he's not coming back, but I don't believe he's coming back for James Gunn's slate. With that being said, do you think that the previous movies that just came out, Shazam, Black Adam, this movie, and also keep in mind we got Aquaman up next. So with Aquaman coming up, do you think that this will affect James Gunn's slate, a DC slate, since he's going to be rebooting? I'll start with you, Critical.
This probably may affect it, but the good news is this: women love Jason Momoa. That's it. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yeah.
Jason
Oh, yeah.
Momoa. Yeah. Women love him. You know what I'm saying? And so, and dudes want to get his physique, even though he said that he doesn't want to work out anymore. But you know, it's he has a likable personality, and I think just off that, people are gonna come out and want to see this film. And you know, just off the first one, I mean, the first one did really well. You know, it was very fun to watch. Very surprising. You know what I mean? Beautiful when they went under the water. So I think that this would do better than The Flash, but I think this can set the stage of what we may expect from the audience when it comes to the James Gunn films.
Okay. That was definitely a dope tape. Because I agree. Like you know, the ladies love Jason Momoa, so that has one thing going for him, at least for the Aquaman movie. And same question: do you think that these previous films, even the Jason Momoa film we got coming up, do you think this will affect James Gunn's DCU?
Well, as the last movie in the DCU, which is going to be Aquaman, I honestly think it's not going to do as good as the first one. I do think there will be a little bit of a dip because of the variables I was just saying. Take away the Ezra Miller stuff, so that kind of gives him a little bit of a boost. He wasn't involved in any stupid drama, and like Critical just said, the ladies love him. So as I said, I don't think it's going to do as much as the other one, because the other one is one of the highest ranking DCEU movies, as in when it comes to the box office hits. Is it the best movie though? On my opinion, it's one of the worst ones. I think I'm not a fan of the Aquaman movie at all. I think it sucks. And I'm not even a big fan of Jason Momoa's version of the Aquaman. But as you guys are saying, his charm, he seems like a cool person in real life. Ladies love him. So they're going to go see the movie regardless. So it's not even about the story to some people. It's just, we love Jason Momoa. So I think it will do good. I don't think it's going to do better because of, it might get a little bit of hit because of the future of this. Now, I think people like us, we're ready for James Gunn's version of the DCU movie, which I think is going to start off with like, is it going to be Blue Beetle or Superman? I don't know which one.
No, it's Superman. James Gunn made a comment and said that Blue Beetle is a part of their universe, but that's not the first movie in their universe.
Okay, gotcha. So it's kind of like a Captain America situation where Iron Man came first, but what starts it off really is Captain America.
Right,
so
right.
I think that's what he's trying to say with that. Either that, or it's just like the events are not canon and the actor will move on to the universe. One of the two. I'm cool with it either way. But I think, like, for example, what we are fans of, like the whole comic book movie franchises, we're just waiting. We're really just looking at our watch and just waiting to see what James Gunn can do, because we know this universe it's a wrap. It's basically just like the last call of the night at the bar. So, you know, you're just like, okay, I'll check out what remaining women are here. But, you know, it's really going to be the next time we come, we're going to be like, you know, taking it more serious. So I think that's where we're at right now.
I want to say this, though. I do think that if the new Aquaman does do well, we got to label Aquaman LL Cool J. Ladies love Cool Jason, you know. So.
Facts. That is true.
Definitely.
They don't love his acting.
They don't. And to that point, I wanted to ask you guys. So now that we've gotten the Flash come out, we heard a bunch of people say it's the best DCEU movie. It's the best. It's a really good comic book movie. It's the best comic book movie of this year. To give my overall thoughts and to address those statements personally, I thought it was a good movie. This movie was not better in my opinion. This is just my opinion. It wasn't better than Shazam, in my opinion. Shazam, the second movie. It wasn't
better than the second one.
I actually like the second one a little bit better than than this one. It wasn't that much better to me. I definitely was not better than Across the Spider-Verse.
I agree with you.
I had more fun watching Fast X than I did this movie. Now I will say this. That is my opinion.
That's his opinion.
I'm not saying that The Flash is a crappy movie in comparison to all the movies that I've named. But what I'm saying is that as a movie as it sits, Ian asked a very important question. What is the most important thing about a movie? A story. This movie has a good story, but I would also like to think everything that you add to the story makes the story better, makes it
For
more
sure.
cohesive and flow. When it came down to the essence of who the character was, uh I felt like it didn't meet certain narratives in that story. Even though great story, Ezra Miller was great. That in that last scene he had with his mom, and he cries and he tells his mom goodbye. I mean, almost it could be that scene alone could be nominated for an Oscar. However, when I take Barry as the Flash, I don't see this particular Barry, as the hero we were waiting to see. So for me, as the best DCEU movie, I would put the best DCEU movie, in my opinion. Nothing has touched the first Wonder Woman. For me, it's Wonder Woman, Man of Steel. No, Wonder Woman, James Gunn's Suicide Squad, then Man of Steel, and then I'd probably say Aquaman and then Flash.
Wow.
If I had to put it in the category of 5. Yeah, I think the Flash. Now, again, the Flash is a good movie. You're going to laugh. You're probably going to cry, and you are going to be amazed of some of the action scenes in this movie. By the way, I love all the action scenes with Ben Affleck's Batman. I thought the way
Nailed
he was
it.
handling people was
It's
so
a great
dope.
goodbye to Ben Affleck for sure.
Definitely a great goodbye. We should I think the perfect goodbye should have been a solo movie of him, but that's
Yes.
neither here nor there.
I agree.
But okay, I wanted to ask Ian, because Ian, you did really like the movie. Out of all the DC movies, if you had to rank it out of your top 5 out of the DCEU movies, where would you put it?
Well, it's definitely in my top 5, so I'll give you that. Shazam 2 is not going to be in my top 5. It's not even, I don't even think about that movie. I hate that movie. Now, I love the first one. So the first one is in my top 5, but Shazam 2 better than this? Alex, oh my goodness, bad dog. Okay.
I had a little
Wow.
more fun with that movie.
Oh my God, I hated that movie so much. Because I don't know, it's so disappointing because I love the first one so much. Kind of like how I feel
think
about Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman
If you
84.
just take it as a comedy, it's a great movie.
I guess, if you want Zachary Levi just having a panic attack every 5 minutes, goodness gracious. Oh guys, what do we do? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Shut up, chill. Okay. Anyways, let me talk about my 5 favorite DCEU movies. I do like Man of Steel. I do like the first Shazam. I do like the first Wonder Woman. I do like James Gunn's Suicide Squad, and I do like the Flash. Where the Flash ranks in this 5 right here. Honestly, visual effects, I have to give it to Man of Steel, hands down. And that's like the oldest one out of all of them. That's wild.
That's the first one.
That's the first one. It still has the best effect. That's whatever you think about Zack Snyder, you can't deny he's like the man at effects. Is he a good storyteller? That's debatable. Now his effects are great. But yeah, I want to say, man, as a story goes, it might be second, man. I think as time went on, I did start to like Man of Steel a lot more. I used to not like it, but like I can understand the story a little bit more. So I might go with Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. I might have to go with Justice League's not nowhere near the top 5. Sorry. The Flash. As his story goes, visual effects, yes, we can debate. It's not good for the story. Cameos probably wasn't like the best in taste, but I'm a storyteller. I am somebody that writes stories. I have a comic coming out. So as a story goes, I got to give Flash number 2 because I like how they did it. I like how he delivered it as well. Like everybody else, I got to go. So Man of Steel, Flash, James Gunn's Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman. No, Shazam, then Wonder Woman.
Okay, and Critical, where would you put the Flash in your top 5, or is it in your top 5 of DCEU movies?
Okay, DCEU movies. Now I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna have some ties. You know what I mean?
Okay.
All right. So my number 1 is going to have to be Justice League, the Snyder version. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man.
Okay.
He had 7 hours to kill. Oh man.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, because it flushed everyone out. My number 2 is going to be something I didn't even think about. The Watchmen. That's my favorite DC.
That's not in the D. Okay, I gotta stop you there, bro. That's not in the
Okay.
DCEU. You know, that's
DC,
kind of like
bet,
it's a
bet.
DC
Okay, that's
movie.
fair.
Now, if we're talking that, then I gotta say definitely V for Vendetta. But we're talking about a DC.
Okay. No, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair. All right. So then my second one will be Suicide Squad. The second one. You know what I mean?
Okay.
James
Okay,
Gunn.
okay.
All right. So my number 4 will have to be, now it's a tie. It's a tie between, no, it's not a tie. It will have to be Flash, then Wonder Woman, then and I think I have a tie between Aquaman and Shazam 2.
Wow.
So
You guys might be
how
the
many
only
was
people I know that like Shazam too. Interesting.
that? Yeah, Shazam 2 was cool. I thought it had me cracking up. Shazam 2.
It had me cracking up. Like I
Y'all like
was
it better than the first?
I didn't say
like
that.
it better first.
I didn't say that.
That's
I didn't
y'all's
say that.
opinion. I mean, it's all good.
Yeah.
I will say there's a merit to why people hate Shazam. I don't disagree with that at all. I'm saying as a moviegoer who went to go see this movie, I laughed from beginning to end of that movie. And when I watched the first movie, it was the same thing. I laughed from the beginning to the end. I don't take Shazam seriously, just like I don't take the Fast and Furious franchise seriously. So I went in.
If you look at it that way, I guess I can see what you're saying, because the kid is way more mature than the adult. But whatever, we're taking our brain out and we're watching a Fast and Furious movie. I got you.
Exactly. like if anyone who's seen Fast 10, Dom can't die. Shit, like this motherfucker has been through everything, and he can't. I don't even think this man's been shot before. So like, he cannot.
Letty shot him in episode 6. Don't ask me why I knew that.
Okay, he's been shot, but apparently he survived that.
He ate that bullet, bro.
But when you watch Shazam, you literally have to take your brain out and view it as a comedy, and I think everyone would love it. Cameos. I want to talk to you guys about cameos. Did the cameos meet the quota of this film? Like we saw Nicolas Cage as Superman. Most people didn't know that he was Superman. We saw George Clooney in this movie. We saw Michael Keaton, obviously. We had some very fun cameos. We had a great Back to the Future reference as well. Cameos. Would you say the cameos were on par as Across the Spider-Verse, or did Across the Spider-Verse, do you feel, did better with their cameos in The Flash? I'll start with you, Critical.
Oh, that's a good one. Let's see. Did they have better cameos than Across the Universe? You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say yeah. Without even thinking, because I really wanted to think on it. I was hoping you would call Ian out first, but I'm gonna go ahead. Off of feelings, I'm just gonna go ahead and say yes. The reason why, because like you said, Nicolas Cage, even though they never came out with it, but it was a producer. I can't think of his name. This is the guy who did Wild Wild West. And I think they got into it because in their Superman movie, he wanted a spider in his film. And since they didn't come out with the movie, he went ahead and put that spider, which was a mechanical spider, in the Wild Wild West.
Yeah,
so
I remember.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, Kevin Smith was the one that told everybody about that.
Okay, there you go. And I thought that was just hilarious, just to see that in there. To see Christopher Reeves come back, and also the first Kara, you know what I mean? Like I said, I was a big Supergirl fan. To see them together, because we never got a chance to see them together, that was dope to me. Just to see them standing side by side, looking out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and then seeing George Clooney at the end. I knew something was going to happen. I figured he was in a different alternate universe, because it took too long for the people to break way, and it was like for it to be anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Or who we thought it was going to be. It took too long to get there. So to see him, it was cool. To see Michael Keaton, that was just dope within itself. Very nostalgic. So I felt like it could have been more. I felt like it wasn't as impactful. Maybe let's say a Doctor Strange. You know what I mean? Like seeing the X-Men and like you just hearing people clap. Like I didn't get any claps. When I heard when they showed these people. But in my heart, I felt it was pretty dope. So I'm gonna have to roll with the Flash now.
So what about you, Ian? Who did it better, the Across the Spider-Verse in terms of cameos, or the Flash in terms of cameos?
I got to give it to Across the Spider-Verse, man, because they opened the door for we might actually see Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire in the next one, just because they're showing clips of previous Spider-Man events, and like, you know, we're just seeing all the alternate universe ones. Like, it's to the point like you see something new every time you watch it. So I like that aspect of it. I mean, I didn't hate these cameos in the Flash, so I enjoyed watching a what if scenario of Nicolas Cage. You know, that was a deep cut. People didn't know that he was supposed to be directed by Tim Burton, a version like it was going to be after the Batman movies. They were going to do a version of Superman with him, with Nicolas Cage. So I thought that was dope. I did cheer when I saw Christopher Reeves, but now that I think about it, I kind of thought it was a little bit tasteless because of the bad CGI. I was like, why couldn't they use an archive footage of that? Like, they have plenty of that, you know? And the other Superman, the old Superman, which I forgot his name. I knew his last name was Reeves, but he actually did not like being Superman. You know, like, he died, like, people, it took a mental toll on him. So I don't know and he didn't have any kids or nothing for any family to approve or disapprove that cameo. So I know he might not have liked that in real life. You know, he's been passed away years and years ago. To me, I think it was a missed opportunity again for Grant Gustin and anybody else that played the Flash. Like, this was the time. Like, we already had Grant Gustin in the Flash television show. I mean, not Grant Gustin, but Ezra Miller in the television show. Like, this is the time to return that favor. Like, that right there. My theater did actually do the applause and cheers, but it was the first screening though, so there was a lot of that. So like, whenever we saw Christopher Reeve, whenever we saw Adam West, whenever we saw Nicolas Cage, they went crazy. Of course, they went crazy when they saw what's his name, Michael Keaton. So like, it was like we were all having a great time. I loved the vibe of it, but like, honestly, if Grant Gustin would have showed up, bro, I would have went naked. I would have went crazy. Yeah. I would have ran around the whole theater. Like, I would have like, yes. That's amazing. Like, so I think that was a very missed opportunity. And I don't know Grant Gustin personally, but I get the vibes from his interviews and his interactions that he would have been 100% down for that. You know, and the director said that there was no place for him. But like, I don't agree with that though. Like,
I don't agree with that either.
How is there not place for Grant Gustin, but there's a place for Adam West? I don't understand. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. And before I move on, though, doesn't Critical look like that bad CGI from Thor: Love and Thunder? Goodness gracious!
I just now noticed that. We were telling him he looks like Zordon from Power Rangers.
I bestow you the power of the Rangers. You know?
Yeah. He does look like Ezra Miller when he poked his head out for the first time. Just when he saw the babies and stuff like that. But no, I did like the cameos, but if you're asking me who did it better, I gotta give it to Into the Spider-Verse, man.
Okay. Yeah, I would have to do Across the Spider-Verse as well. I did enjoy the cameos in the Flash because it did take me back. I did love seeing Christopher Reeve and obviously another deep cut Nicolas Cage. Shout out to the late John Schnepp, who did a documentary about that particular Superman. That's how I found out that Nicolas Cage was Superman. I would have never known if John Schnepp didn't do a movie called The Death of Superman Lives. So I would definitely check that out. I believe it's still on Amazon, and I believe it's still even on his website. My last question I wanted to ask you guys, since we talked about Grant and Ezra, I want to point out Grant has about 9 years of footage of being the Flash, so he had a little bit of a leg up on Ezra Miller. But I wanted to ask you guys, out of the two flashes that we have had in our modern day, which one do you prefer?
Grant.
Oh wow, well, he's made up his mind. What about you, Ian?
Okay, so I think the obvious answer is Grant, just because of like we've literally seen him evolve from the beginning to where he's at now. We fell in love with his whole family, his whole work squad. People coming in, people leaving. We've even seen his daughter from the future. Like, I think we fell in love with just his universe. Now, with that being said, I do want to say my answer is still Grant, but I will say this is what Ezra did better: the mom and dad aspect. That is a very critical thing when it comes to the Flash character. Like, we've not seen him as the Flash as long as we've seen Grant, but we've seen more of the vibe of him with his stepfather, which is the commissioner now, right? Or is he still police? Yeah. The commissioner, and his relationship with with Iris. So his relationship with Iris is better on the show. His relationship with his stepdad, and even his friends and stuff, I think they do it better. But like as him as a child, or like his love for his mother, wanting her to survive, and like trying to get his father out of prison, stuff like that. I honestly think the movie did it better.
Yeah, and I actually agree with you on that, because if I'm watching The Flash, I think they spent like a whole 2 seasons trying to get his dad out of jail.
Yeah.
And his dad finally got out of jail and then wind up dying. So
yeah, that
like,
happened. But like to me, the show is so much, you don't even remember that happened. There's so much other stuff that happened before that.
Right.
That's a very important part of his lore.
Yeah, they spent more time of Barry being the Flash than he did mourning his family. By the way, I will say another criticism about this movie. I did not believe Iris and Barry liked each other in this movie.
I agree. Yes.
I think Iris was the one that was thirsty. Barry was like, "Who are you?" Like he barely even noticed this girl. So
there was no chemistry. You take Iris out this movie, it's the same movie. I really think it was kind of pointless.
I kind of felt this though, to piggyback off that. I kind of felt they should have made the Flash gay on this movie.
They probably should have.
I was like, he should have just been gay, man.
I mean,
and fall in love with himself. Fall in love with his younger self.
Barry was making big jokes about himself.
Yo, because I mean, come on, like out of everybody, he's gonna get the old lady shirt. He could have went up in his own room and got his own clothes, but he gonna get the old lady shirt. Come on,
exactly.
Make him gay. Come on, man.
Exactly.
In real life, he is non-binary, and I think he has an attraction for both in real life. And that scene where he sacrifices himself to save himself from himself at the end would have hit differently if he fell in love with himself. I just gotta say that.
But that would have
hit differently.
I think that probably would have deterred the movie, though. Like,
yo, if that story went that way, I ought to be like, this is one of a kind.
This is next level drama.
That would be insane. That would be insane. Now, I will say, I agree with a lot of Ian's points. I think with Ezra told a different style of Barry that we have not seen interpreted, especially that family aspect. What I did not like about Ezra's Barry is that they made him too nerdy. They made him too it's like he was too goofy. And if you read the comic books of Barry of Barry Allen, yes, when he's the Flash, he has his quips, but he's not. Barry Allen is not the equivalent of Spider-Man. He's not.
He's not a fucking idiot,
He's not an idiot. Like he knows he's an intelligent dude.
Yeah.
Not to say that Spider-Man isn't. I'm just saying like
Spider-Man's probably smarter though.
Every time I saw Ezra on screen, I kept seeing Tom Holland like doing like, oh, I don't know. Oh, why is it like this? Or like, I'm like, dude, like grow the fuck up. Like you're like, but anyway.
Kind of like that Shazam character.
But Shazam was actually a kid, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I you would understand that.
You would think the grown-up version was a kid. Definitely, the kid was a lot more mature. I'm sorry, you guys picked that over this movie. What the hell? Sorry.
I mean, if I had to rate this movie, Critical had already rated this movie. If I had to rate this movie out of 10, I would give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. Like I said, anybody who's watching this, go watch the movie. I would also say this: if anyone's apprehensive of watching this movie solely because of things you may have heard about Ezra Miller and all this other stuff, the one thing I will say is that when you're watching the movie, Ezra Miller has a way of showing you that everything that he had did does not necessarily affect the story and the narrative of this movie. I didn't think about his past transgressions as I was watching this movie. I was watching this movie as an independent movie, and I think that if you are a fan of The Flash, if you're a fan of DC, watch this movie. And listen, a lot of the reviews are bombing this movie solely because of the Ezra Miller drama, which I can see why they're doing that, but that's not fair to the movie. So I would definitely tell everyone who's watching this review, watch the movie, come up with your own opinion. And if you like it, keep telling people about it. If you don't like it, tell people about it. But
let me echo what you said. It's not Ezra Miller's movie. It's the director and the writer. So you're kind of shitting on them and not Ezra Miller.
Right.
Yeah,
They didn't know he was going to act out the way he did. You know, what I mean? They
Exactly.
couldn't predict
And
it.
Michael Keaton, he's back. Come on,
Yeah.
celebrate that. You know.
yes.
Right.
Let's get nuts. So,
I love that part.
I did have some questions though.
what's up? What's up, Chris?
So we got through the reverse flash. We got through not knowing who stabbed the mother, because that was very, very important to his lore.
Yes.
But my thing is, shouldn't there be a Supergirl in the Snyderverse? Because there was a Kryptonian ship that was in the Snyderverse that nobody knew about. So that means that shouldn't like Kara be somewhere like locked up in Russia?
I'm
instead of-
assuming. I just assumed that this Supergirl was this super like was that pod that open, but in an alternate universe. Because
Yeah.
you're right. And if you read, Man of Steel came out with a comic book.
Okay.
And the comic book shows Kara walking the earth before Kent got there. And then you see her drift off into the sunset, not knowing where she ended up. Now, a lot of people are saying that she's still on Earth somewhere. We don't know. A lot of people are even saying she was the one who started the Amazonians, which actually did not happen when you watch Wonder Woman. But
That doesn't
right.
make any sense time-wise, but okay.
Exactly. But you're correct that Kara is in the Snyderverse. But I just assume the Supergirl that we got in this movie was another version of Kara, just in a different timeline.
I want to say if she is alive while everything has been happening, while Zod happened the first time, every event that's happened on Earth since she's been there, she's got to be a piece of shit superhero then. You know, kind of like the Martian at the end of Justice League. Like
Justice League, yeah.
Thank you for showing up. Yeah. Oh, I'll get you on the next one. You know, she got to be worse than that. You know, but I think at this point, like, I guess all we got to do is speculate, because that universe is over with.
Yeah, that train is left. And one more question:
Left.
where was Robin and Batgirl? Because wasn't Robin and Batgirl with Michael Keaton? You know what I mean? Like that universe.
Yeah, they scrapped that movie because Keaton was back for that too.
Yeah, but I think that movie takes place after the Flash, doesn't it? Was it supposed to take place after the Flash?
It is supposed to happen after the Flash, and this is before obviously James Gunn bought things. I meant to add on to this when it came to that last.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, not that version of Batgirl. The Michael Keaton. Like, I think Michael Keaton did 2 movies. Then the other one they did Batman and Robin.
So that was the one with that was the one with Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer's sick, so of course that's probably why he wasn't in this movie. And then the George Clooney version did have Batman and Alicia Silverstone, which I had a big crush on her back in the day. She was Batgirl. Yeah, bat nipples. Yeah. I wanted to say this too from that last scene. The last scene, they had 3 versions of it. I told you guys the one I saw in the beginning was just him saying, "Who the fuck is that?" And then it went to black. The one that came out in the movie was the one with George Clooney. They originally shot a version where Michael Keaton and the Supergirl return, and they are that in that universe. So as a story narrative, I think they should have probably went with that one if they were going to continue this story, Flash's story, because that would have made more sense. Like, oh, it's a happy ending. They really didn't die. That was on the plate, but I think the last minute they scrapped it to make the George Clooney appearance, just because they wanted to make it a funny gag, because universe is over with. Again, I like the version I saw where they just went to dark and made you speculate, oh my goodness, who's the new Batman?
Right.
Okay, so it seems like we all come to a general consensus that we did enjoy the movie. I didn't get your rating though, Ian. What would you rate this movie?
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Down.
Okay.
Yes, and it was 9 out of 10 until, like I said, like they didn't fix that CGI like that I thought they would, so it went down a whole point. You know, and they're lucky it didn't go down 2 points. You're lucky. I'm still very impressed with the storyline, but yeah, that CGI is terrible.
Yeah, CGI looked like something out of a video game almost. But that is our spoilers review of Ezra Miller's The Flash. I don't think we'll see Ezra Miller again, but you never know. Things are definitely different in the world that we live in. I mean, you know, who knows? Donald Trump might be president again. Who knows?
Why would you put that in the air? Why? No, why?
I'm just saying the world.
I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight. Shit.
The world we live in, it is not impossible for that to happen. But thank you guys so much for being part of the review, and I want to thank you guys who did come out to watch the review. Critical, where can we find you on YouTube and social media?
You can find me on YouTube at Criticals Blue Reviews, and on social media, that will be Twitter and Instagram. That'll be Critical Blue Reviews. So check me out there.
It's not
Awesome.
critical.
Ian, where can we find you on YouTube and social media?
YouTube.com/Ian Elliott Carter. That's 2 L's and 2 T's. Don't forget the T around me. And yeah, Instagram, Facebook's, Twitter, all that stuff, man. I talk movies and other things. You know, I'm gonna get a little bit more personal in the future. And comic book coming out soon. Angel and Reset versus the Robo Karens. So look out for that.
Dope comic book. Yours truly is featured in that
Yes,
comic
sir.
book. So I cannot wait for that to come out, man.
I think the Callaway Creeper shit himself. That's
yo,
a little bit of
I
spoiler.
had so much fun. I was like, yo, I should definitely get into voice acting.
You should,
That shit
man.
was so
You're
much
good.
fun.
Definitely. That's what's up.
Yeah,
Man,
Critical. I'm gonna shoot that to you one day, man. I'm gonna let you
Well,
see
that's
it.
the word.
Yeah.
But
what's
you
up.
know where to find us, guys, here on Momentum Media. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, you guys, have a blessed day.
Gay Flash.